You've poured your heart and soul into your home, and you've got what you think is the perfect listing. But what if I told you that you could be about to lose tens of thousands of dollars and not even see it coming? In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the 20 secrets that savvy buyers and their agents use to drain your equity. We're talking about everything from psychological mind games to sneaky inspection loopholes that many sellers fall for. And secret number 14 is one I see cost sellers a fortune nearly every single time. So let's jump in. First up, the mind game. Real estate isn't just about price tags and square footage, it's about emotion, and buyers know exactly how to use yours against you. This isn't just an offer, it's a psychological anchor. A buyer throws out a number so far below your asking price, it feels like an insult. Your first instinct might be to just throw it in the trash, but that's their trap. The goal is to make you question your price and drag the entire negotiation down to their level. Suddenly, their next offer, which is still way too low, seems almost reasonable by comparison. Don't take it personally. It's a cold, calculated business move. Now one on the seller side. We have another offer coming in this afternoon. Ever heard that one? A buyer's agent might say this to create a sense of panic. This fear of missing out or FOMO is designed to rush you into a quick decision before you've had time to really think. While fabricating offers is a violation of real estate law, creating a sense of urgency is a common tactic. Always ask to see the other offer in writing. A buyer writes you a heartfelt letter gushing about how they can just picture their kids growing up in your home. It's a tactic designed to pull at your heartstrings and make you feel guilty for not accepting their offer, even if it's lower than the other. They're playing on your sentimentality to get a discount. While it seems innocent, many real estate associations now discourage these letters because they can lead to fair housing violations. We'd receive these letters all the time when we were flipping houses, and it was that crazy, insane hot market, and we would get 20 offers in 2 days, and they would send us cards with pictures of their dogs, and it was wonderful, and we really felt for some of these folks, but in the end, it's a business, and you've got to get the most you possibly can for your property. A sharp buyer's agent will do some digging to find out why you're selling. Are you relocating for a job? Going through a divorce? If they sense you're in a desperate situation or on a tight timeline, they know you have less leverage, and their offer will reflect that. Never reveal more than you absolutely have to. After a bit of back and forth, they'll suggest you split the difference. Sounds fair on the surface, but it's a classic tactic. If they started with a ridiculously low offer, the midpoint is still way below your home's actual market value. Now, you might want to feel like you're being reasonable and meeting them halfway, but in reality, you're just giving them a hefty discount. It's not about where their offer falls on the compromise meter, it's the actual number. How much is the offer, and is it reflective of the home's value? This is an important business transaction, not two kids trading marbles. The home inspection. This is where buyers find their real leverage. It's not just about making sure the house is safe anymore, it's become a second round of negotiations. Now, a buyer hires an inspector who's famous for being incredibly nitpicky. The result? A terrifying 100-page report filled with dozens of minor issues. The goal isn't to walk away, it's to overwhelm you into giving a huge price reduction or agreeing to a long list of repairs for what is often just normal wear and tear. So the inspector finds a tiny, old water stain under a kitchen sink from a long ago fixed leak. The buyer then starts throwing around scary words like potential mold problem. They can use vague, fear-inducing language to demand thousands in credits for further evaluation that they have no intention of ever doing. They are simply exaggerating to get money out of you. Here's an outrageous example. We had a nice listing in North Scottsdale. It was a vacation home for some of our longtime clients. The home was meticulously kept. Now, during the home inspection, the inspector looked into some garage cabinets and saw what looked like a liquid spill stain. It was pink in color. Now, about 8 inches away from the stain was a bottle of kids' bubbles, the kind you blow into the air then run around chasing. Don't do that on a showing appointment. It throws the seller off. The bottle was pink and the bubble juice inside was pink. You don't have to be Barnaby Jones to figure it out. The inspector wrote it up as a potential leak and water damage. Recommend roof inspection by a qualified professional. There you go. Quick question, Barnaby. Even if the roof was leaking pink bubble juice, how did it get inside the garage cabinet without being visible anywhere else? Even the buyer, who turned out to be a reasonable guy, ignored that item. More often than not, a buyer will ask for a credit at closing instead of having you fix the issues. If you want to know the truth, I highly recommend that my buyers do this. Here's why. If there's a legitimate item that needs repair and you decide to do it yourself or to hire a contractor to do it, you are opening up a potential can of smelly worm, because the buyer will need what they deem acceptable proof that the repair was done properly. And if for some reason the repair fails down the line, you're going to have to deal with making it right. You don't want to sell your house, only have to go back and fix things a year later. You're not a home warranty company. Where it gets difficult is when they have one of their experts quote an outrageous price for a minor repair. That is why we have a whole list of contractors we have worked with for years that we call on in these circumstances. They are all licensed and honest. You want to be fair with your buyers, but you don't want to be stupid. After the main inspection, here comes the parade. The buyer suddenly wants to bring in a roofer, an electrician, a structural engineer, and a thermonuclear engineer. Sometimes it's legitimate, but it's often a delay tactic to find more ammo for negotiation. They're hoping you'll get so worn down, you'll agree to anything just to make it stop, which won't happen to our clients because we have our own specialists available to keep things fair. An inspector might note that something isn't up to today's building code, even though it was perfectly fine when the house was built. Things like the number of outlets in a bedroom or a handrail height that's off by an inch. These usually aren't defects you're legally required to fix, but a buyer will present them as urgent problems that require a credit. This is the time where your agent works with the buyer's agent to determine true motive. If it's an issue that may cause the home to be harder to insure or something that presents a real liability or hazard, you can negotiate a reasonable solution, but you're not replacing an entire railing for a half an inch. Feeling overwhelmed yet? This is the kind of stuff that can cost you a fortune. But before we dive into the next 10 secrets, including the one that I warned you about, I want to give you a tool to fight back. I've put together a seller's negotiation cheat sheet that you can download for free. It breaks down how to counter these tactics and protect your equity. Just leave cheat sheet in the comments and we'll send it over. The offer document itself can be a minefield of clauses and conditions, all designed to give the buyer an escape hatch or more negotiating power. The appraisal contingency trap can be sneaky. A buyer makes a high offer to beat out the competition, knowing the house may not appraise for that amount. When the appraisal comes in low, they use the appraisal contingency to demand that you lower the price to the appraised value. They beat out the competition without having to pay much more for it. You've had your house off the market for weeks, and now you're forced to sell for less. An escalation clause can be sneaky. It's where a buyer agrees to beat other offers up to a certain price. Sounds great for you, but a savvy buyer will set the cap just barely above your list price. If no other higher offers come in, they get the house for a small amount over asking, and you're left wondering if you could have gotten more through a round of highest and best offers to the existing buyers. To make their offer look stronger, a buyer might waive the inspection contingency. You're thrilled about that, wahoo! But they kept their financing contingency. When the lender sends an appraiser, the appraiser points out lender-required repairs, like a few chips of peeling paint or a missing handrail. All of a sudden, you're right back to negotiating repairs, just through a different loophole. Secret number 14, the one last thing ambush. All right, this is the one I warned you about. You're just days from closing. Movers are booked, your bags are packed, and you are emotionally done. That's when your buyer's agent calls with one last thing. You know, like Columbo used to do before he nailed the bad guy. The buyer did their final walkthrough, and now they're claiming a scratch on the floor that wasn't there before. Or they've decided they want your patio furniture. They are banking on the fact that you're so desperate to close that you'll give in rather than risk the whole deal falling apart at the last second. So a buyer offers a flexible closing date, which sounds like a nice gesture, but this can be used as a weapon. If they get a hint that you need to close by a certain date to buy your next house, they can suddenly start dragging their feet on paperwork, using your deadline as leverage to squeeze out a last-minute concession. Even before an offer is on the table, some buyers and agents are already looking for an edge. These buyers over-scrutinize during a showing, which is why we request that you are not home for showings. We did a whole video on that. While you think they're admiring your beautiful home, some buyers are on a mission to find fault. They'll flush all the toilets, turn on every faucet, and criticize every tiny scuff on the wall, often loudly enough for you to hear. It's a performance designed to make you feel insecure about your home's condition and more likely to accept a low offer. That's why we ask you not to be home and to take your pets with you as well, because if you don't hear it, it can affect you. The dual agency dilemma. Be very careful if your listing agent also wants to represent the buyer. I know realtors love this because they get commissions on both sides, but it is a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's called dual agency, and it's a huge conflict of interest. In fact, it's illegal in 8 states, including Colorado, Florida, and Texas. In states where it is legal, the agent's loyalties are totally split. Most brokers really frown on this, and some don't even allow it in their agencies. Dual agency makes it difficult for an agent to maintain the disclosure rule. If you tell your agent your absolute bottom line price, they're not allowed to share that with the buyer. Nor are they allowed to share with you the seller's top price that they will pay. This completely destroys any negotiating power for either side. What's the agent supposed to do? Just stand there mute and hand documents back and forth? Here, write what you'll accept on this piece of paper and I'll be right back. Then run down the hall to another office and do the same thing all over again? It's not a good way for you to get top dollar for your property, and I suggest avoiding it at all costs. To justify a lowball offer, a buyer's agent will present a list of comps or comparable recent sales. But guess what? They conveniently only include homes that sold for less, smaller houses, homes on busy streets, or properties that were sold in distress. They build a biased case to make their low offer look like it's based on solid market data. You know the old saying, the one who frames the argument always wins the debate. But your sharp agent will have his own comps that will support your asking price. During a showing, a buyer or their agent will ask casual, friendly questions. See, casual, friendly, like my hand. Questions like, this is a big house. Is the upkeep a lot? Or are you moving for the schools? They're not just making small talk. They're fishing for your pain points and your motivation for selling. And they will use any weakness they find against you during negotiations. The buyer presents themselves as an investor who can offer a quick, easy cash deal. They promise a hassle-free closing in exchange for a discount. While some of these We Buy Houses companies are legitimate, many operate by getting you under contract, then using questionable tactics to renegotiate the price down even further at the last minute. The convenience often comes at the cost of leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table. Think about it. The only way an investor makes money is if he gets your house for less than it's worth. Selling your home is one of the biggest financial moves you'll ever make, and you can't afford to go in blind. These 20 tactics, from the psychological games to the contractual loopholes, are used every single day to separate sellers from their hard-earned equity. But now you know what to watch out for. By anticipating these strategies, you can stay in the driver's seat during the negotiation. Don't let anyone rush you. Don't get emotional and question everything. Your home and your equity are worth it. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you're thinking about selling and you want a pro on your side who knows how to shut these tactics down, all our contact info is below. Let's make sure you walk away with every single dollar you deserve.